Do you guys have a favorite Christmas film?
It's probably the usual one. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I think I might have to go with the same.
That's the one that springs to mind. Of course, there's also Scrooge. The old one with Alistair Sim is Scrooge. And
Christmas Carol. I love A Christmas Carol too.
Yeah, I
really do.
There are a lot of good versions of Dickens' Christmas carols that have been produced over the years. I think those are all. I think Dickens really got at something kind of universal with Scrooge. And it was also, and I've always liked those. I remember I should go rewatch some of these. I remember there was one that was made in the 80s I thought was really cool, and even the Bill Murray one was kind of fun. But I think in some ways what it is Dickens wrote. It was almost like Shylock redeemed. That's almost like what Scrooge is, because he wrote the Shylock. It's Shylock from Shakespeare's masterpiece, Merchant of Venice. But it's almost like Shylock goes through an inner transformation and recognizes the joys of life and becomes a Christian in a generic sense, but more so just has a kind of spirit of life and is not dominated by weights and measures and money and getting revenge and envy and all that kind of stuff. So I think in some ways maybe this gets back to that Christianity itself.
Yeah, but he's entirely motivated by fear and timidity, isn't he?
Oh, Colin.
No, it's guilt, isn't it? Isn't it? He hates to see.
It's pure fear, I think, because he sees the future, and he's but
he doesn't want to see Tiny Tim die.
That plays a very major role in his spiritual transformation.
Sure. Well, that's true, but I think he also sees. I remember there's one where he visits Bob Cratchit. Bob Cratchit, that's his relative, isn't it?
No, that's his worker.
Oh,
the guy that works, the clerk in his
oh, that's Bob Cratchit, right? Who's his
house.
relative, his brother? And I think he goes and visits them, and he sees how much fun they're having because they have this festive. And I think even his brother raises a glass. He's like, "Well, we'll raise a glass to Ebenezer," and then he kind of realizes what he's missing by not being part of, not having a joyful sense of life because. He sees these people are happy, they have a togetherness and family, and he's over in his office, counting gold coins or.
Well, there's a bit of stick and carrot, isn't there?
Right.
If you change, you can actually have more fun, and also you will escape the fires of hell.
Yeah, I don't deny what you're saying. But there is a kind of inner transformation. He doesn't just become nice out of fear of hell. So he's like, oh, I fear going to hell, so I'm going to donate money to this charity.
He also has hedonistic reasons to join in the party.
God.
Colin. Well, no, he also doesn't like, he sees Tiny Tim, a future where Tiny Tim dies because of his greed, because of his own greed and his, withholding, paying his employee properly. So this crippled boy suffers and gets sick and then dies.
That's the emotional heart of the story there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that it is, it is an amazing story, and it's continued to resonate. So Dickens really got at something. The fact that you can revive something infinitely in all these different forms, and it's still
every year
good. Yeah, even like Bill Murray, that Bill Murray movie from the late 80s or early 90s, Scrooged, that's still actually kind of good, because it has the same, it has the same story. Even like bad productions of Shakespeare, obviously that you kind of wince at some places, but they're still kind of good because you have the text, but like, a bad production of a bad play is totally worthless.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think Dickens was really getting at something. But anyway, that was a digression, but I will say I'm now motivated. I'm going to go find on either Netflix, iTunes, or elsewhere. I'm going to go find that 80s version of Scrooge that I watched over and over when I was a kid during the holidays. So anyway,
the classic one is the one with Alistair Sim. That's the classic. I think that's from the 1950s or maybe even the late 40s.
Well, this one was more of an update. It was probably made in the early 80s. I think it did have a good actor. I think it might have had Richard Burton or something.
That's Scrooge. Wow.
It might not have been that. It had a good English, trained actor who's could do Shakespeare, and he really,
It wasn't Patrick Stewart, was it?
I think Patrick Stewart did do a Scrooge, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. But we're probably boring. Okay. I'm almost guessing at this film. I'll go look it up. But there was a version that I remember watching when I was a kid that really I still think about.